back to another altcoin watch list. And as always, we're going to run through last week and kind of review how those coins played out and how we would have looked to trade them. And then we're going to run through the watch list for the next week coming up. So to start off, we actually have Monero, which is on this week's watch list as well. So I'm not going to scroll back. You just kind of have to remember. Monero does deserve to be on the watch list in terms of a higher time frame trend. So look at something like our 4 hour chart. Obviously, this is outperforming. If you do go and apply my 4 second rule, which is how I find these coins, you're going to notice that Monero is largely outperforming in comparison to 99% of the other altcoins in the market, right? Most of the things are just kind of heading down across all time frames. Obviously, Monero is still heading up on this high time frame. Now, how would I look to trade that trend? I'm not quite sure, to be honest with you. There's nothing that really speaks out to me too much. Maybe you'll be able to find something, but I haven't. The hourly 200s have been the most actionable analysis. So did pretty well considering that this was sent out last, Friday, and was, I believe, was on the watch list the Friday before that as well. So obviously, it just continued to uptrend ever since then. In locally, we have lost that trend. So locally, we're not doing anything, that screams strength or outperformance or anything that really makes you want to look to trade this to the long side. But it's just more so in the event that we reclaim something more significant like that trend all over again and we continue trending, then this is going to be something you probably want to pay attention to. So Monero is not really something that I will ever really trade because it's more like the price action itself seems algo driven. Like it's very stair steppy, it's very odd kind of price action. So you're going to find that when we have an environment like the one that we're in right now, you're going to see that even though I'm sitting here and showing you these coins that are more interesting than the other shit, right? The way that I broke it down last time was I'm watching polished shit, but it's still shit. So when we have that sort of market environment, you're going to find that I'm not willing to trade things that are algo driven or have a ton of wicks or just are simply illiquid or right for whatever given reason. Or it's just like some random 2017 Dino coin that nobody cares about anymore. I'm probably not going to be trading those kinds of things, even if they are outperforming. I try and keep those off the list as much as possible, but yeah, you got to work with what you're given, right? So Monero is still an outperformer in terms of high time frame. Now, the context to this one, though, is that we are testing a very, very, very high time frame trend. So it is to say, if we reclaim this trend, right, it has to start from the hourly. You have to reclaim those hourly 200s first. And then if we go on to reclaim those 200 dailies, then you can kind of scale your assumptions to much, much higher levels, right? And keep it going from there. But that is the context. So, high time frame resistance, very, very, very high time frame trend resistance has kind of melted our strength argument so far. So until we regain that, there's no reason to really want to pay attention to Monero. But in terms of review, did pretty well comparatively, right? So the other one that we want to talk about, which is also on last week's watch list. Oh, we're still doing review, right? I'm sorry. So it was in last week's watch list, and it's going to be in this week's. Is Optimism. So something like hourly 200 MAs for Optimism has dictated a local trend. I would even say, obviously, at this point, we are trading within more of like a range now. So it's not even necessarily that, this week Optimism is strongly outperforming, but it is to say it's at least not trending downwards across all time frames as most other coins are, right? So this is at least neutral biased as of the past 3 weeks still, even though obviously this is slow bleed price action. You typically don't want to fight slow bleeds. And it is still illiquid. Like, what the hell is this pump, right? So again, not really something that I'm willing to trade, but it is an option for you degenerates, which are probably most of you, and probably myself at times as well. So it is a pretty good option just for the simple fact that you can just trade the range that way. And then obviously, if we break out above the range, then you want to assume expansion, right? So it was pretty well, did pretty well last week, right? And could potentially set up for something much nice or much nicer. Sorry, I can't talk now. Heading up, into the week moving forward. So what else we have? We have Tron. Actually sure how this played out. So again, not really paying too much attention to the market. Again, the way that I broke it down last time was like, yeah, Tron is obviously outperforming, and you could look to trade it, and it is pretty actionable. But when Tron is your strongest coin in the market, what does that really tell you, right? So that's the setup that we had drawn. Pretty, simple stuff. Just looking to trade the break out of the range, as well as trend confluence and whatnot. And so far, so good. But obviously, that trend broken down. So not on the watch list for moving forward, but so far, so good. It did perform pretty well. It did exactly what we wanted it to do in comparison to the rest of the market, right? The other one was TWT. So this totally broke down. So the way that I did not trade this, even though I said if anything, I'm going to look to trade. I'm going to look to trade TWT. I wasn't able to trade TWT because we never came down and tested the region that I wanted. Right. So this is the retest that I initially wanted. And instead, what we did is we reclaimed the very, very, very local trend, which was also mentioned in last week's video, of the 5 minute 200s, right? So we reclaimed those. I missed that trade, so then I cancel my bids here. And then so by the time that local trend breaks down, it breaks down all in one fashion. Again, illiquid price action. Chalk it up to this is the environment we're trading in. You're sitting here trying to grind in the peak bear market. So this is exactly what you deserve. So I mean, everything's a risk reward and pro and a con. You just kind of have to live with it. But this is the price action that you decided you wanted to trade when you clicked on this video. So yeah, TWT, I managed to not trade it. I missed the trade setup. Could have printed some RR in terms of a low time frame, positioning here, hiding a stop immediately below these lows, that kind of thing. But totally just missed everything altogether because I acknowledged this strength as it formed and then used that to just kind of say, okay, I'm probably not going to get my bids. And if I do get my bids, then things will not be lined up the way that I would love them to be. Right. Obviously, not anticipating this kind of price action, but uh, probably going to be something along the lines of like, oh, look, we're losing the hourly 200s and now we're retesting this region. So it's like, where do I put my entry, right? Somewhere, do I put it here? Do I put it here? So I kind of just write off the setup altogether and just kind of eat the potential opportunity cost and sit on my hands as a pleb in the event that this just continues trending into price discovery as you would anticipate it to do. So yeah, so TWT obviously not too great. And now we get to just jump into the watch list moving forward. So we had Optimism already. We already discussed Monero. Those two coins are on the watch list and they deserve to be for their own respective reasons. Obviously, Optimism isn't uptrending, but it is neutral, which is better than just straight up bearish, right? And Monero still has that like infinite bid, the algo, grindy, stair steppy price action in the event that it reclaims those hourly 200s. So it's more of like a pending kind of thing. But moving forward, we do have GMX, which is something that I actually could trade. Um, so at the moment, testing something like our 4 hour 200 moving averages. Let's get rid of these levels. Pretty clunky. So these 4 hour 200 moving averages, along with a pretty significant previous supply zone that we would now anticipate to be demand, right? So 4 hour 200 MA trend gets respected pretty good, considering that we don't have a ton of price action to work with. Recently, they very well respected, so you would imagine that the same would be true here today. So demand zone confluence along with 4 hour 200s. Now, the way that I will be looking to play this, though, because again, I'm not willing to bid price action that looks like my nightmares. Slow grind, bleed, right? Style price action. Even if you inverse that chart and you look at price action like this, right? I probably don't want to be fading that kind of a move. So in that case, that would be revenge shorting, right? I'm not going to be that person stepping in front of that train. Just not willing to. In terms of probabilities, you're going to find that you're obviously much better off waiting for some strength to develop after having tested a key region, and you're going to find that slow bleeds. Usually, nothing really good tends to come from them. So something like hourly 200 moving averages to portray a local trend, right? But because of the volatility on this coin, and because of moves like this and moves like that, right, and moves like this, you kind of have to adjust to an even smaller scale, right? And in that case, you want to zoom into something like maybe even your 5 minute chart and start to scale your assumptions from there. You can kind of see how well these 5 minute 200s get respected generally, right? If you're the person who's automatically assuming a trend flip and an additional 5 or 10% push upwards based off of price action like this, you're probably going to hate your life, right? And price action like that even might catch you off guard. You might hate your life, right? So kind of use it in tune with something else. We can just simply say like, oh, 15 minute 200s, right? If we kind of reclaim and shift the momentum of those 5 minute 200s and we start to break out above those 15-minute 200s, that's where we can kind of look to position and start to really scale into our high time frame assumption, which was, oh, look, we're tapping this major demand zone along with high time frame trend confluence. So instead of placing our bids ahead of time and trying to be the geniuses stepping in front of the train and hoping and praying that we don't get our bids and then some due to some really really ugly slow bleed nightmarish kind of price action, you would just wait for that flip of the lower time frame trends and then base your position off of the idea that the bottom is already in, right? So this would be your like invalidation at that point. If we come back down, then we're probably, getting your bids and then some at that, the higher time frame zone and then some. Um, but yeah, obviously that comes with an opportunity cost, which is just simply my fancy way of saying if you opt for the more probable setup that usually comes with less risk reward, right? Because everything is a balancing act in trading and probably life in general. If you opt for this style setup instead, then you do pay a potential opportunity cost because what if we do this price action, but you're asleep, right? Or you're out to eat with your girlfriend, or, what if you're watching the chart and watching that price action, but we do this, right? You've now paid an opportunity cost, meaning you had a viable option to you, which was just simply buy now and hide a stop loss, step in front of the train and hope and pray that, that zone holds. And you decided not to take it. You decided to opt for a higher probability sort of setup, right? So that's going to come with its pros and cons. But again, that's a pro and a con that I'm willing to deal with in this case, especially in today's market environment, right? No reason to be putting on risk if I don't feel like, it's really all too appealing for me to want to put it on. Not trying to force anything. So GMX, but, that is a viable option if some key things do come into fruition. I think really the only other two coins, so there's Rune, which again, I will probably not be trading just simply because, I mean, look at this price action. This does not look organic, right? That doesn't look organic. This probably doesn't look organic. What the hell are these wicks? Why is that wick there? What is that, right? I'm not going to be trading Rune, but it is unfair to just kind of write it off as I did last week. So I had Rune as an honorable mention, but because these are videos, I'm not really doing the honorable mention part anymore, like I was in the Twitter threads a couple weeks ago. But Rune was an honorable mention, and to be fair, it did go on to continue uptrending. So far, that uptrend is still being held regardless of the most recent price action. But again, the same reason that I wrote it off last week is the same reason that I'm going to write it off this week, which is to say it's fucking illiquid and it looks like algos are just kind of fighting each other and people are pumping and dumping this coin right behind the scenes in like these stupid ass groups that they're making you pay like $500 a month for. And yeah, so not really something that I really want to trade. And then the other coin that I'm going to tell you is it kind of falls in line with the exact same idea. Ocean. So this is something that was being pumped and dumped by some people, whether maliciously or unknowingly. I like to give people that I deem, somewhat good actors, I like to give them the benefit of the doubt, but there's just no way to put it, in a good light. This was absolutely being pumped and dumped, illiquid shit coins that people were probably accumulating and then using their influence to kind of like, use you as liquidity and dump on your head. So again, not really something that I would ever look to trade, but technically speaking, right, if you look at that structure, it's an uptrend. So whoop de doo, right? It's not something I would ever really look to trade. Especially given, or at least given the context behind the chart. So, For those reasons, probably the only thing that I would actually be trading is GMX, and that's obviously in the event that certain things happen. So just kind of like last week where I didn't really take any trades. I'm not sure if I even took one trade at all last week. I can't truthfully remember in this exact moment, but kind of like last week, how I don't really recall any meaningful trade setups. I'm not really going to take any sort of trades this week either. At least I don't foresee it unless the market does a full 180. So I put out my Bitcoin analysis today, my SPY analysis to kind of go along with it. And obviously, if you watch that video, then it was pretty bearish. And yeah, it was based off the same assumptions that allowed me to assume the initial small, right, pretty small uptrend in the first place. And obviously, that's been totally invalidated, and we've continued downtrending since then. So nothing really too crazy for me to want to pay attention to in the market. But regardless, consistency is key, and you're going to find that you're putting yourself ahead of your peers, the other people trading these markets, with just something as simple as 15 minutes a day, once a week, and you give yourself a list of coins to work with, and you go from there, right? And you immediately sort of whittle out all of the bullshit. You don't pay attention to anything that is not meaningful and does not warrant your attention. And you immediately set yourself way ahead of the game. So obviously, even with the past couple weeks or so, illiquid kind of conditions ever since FTX insolvency, I would say we've still done a pretty solid job of navigating these markets and finding things that shine and outperform in comparison to the rest of the market. But hopefully, the point has been proven well enough for it to kind of sit and linger in your brain. When this sort of series initially started, 8 weeks ago, 9 weeks ago. I don't remember what week this is, but yeah, hopefully the point is coming across. And obviously, when the market does start to thrive again, then we will be on top of it. On top of it, it's kind of hard for me not to with the system that I work with. So yeah, lots of exciting stuff to come. So I hope everyone's excited just as much as I am. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel. At the end of the tunnel, you just have to be willing to see it. So, and as long as greed exists, euphoria and bull markets will too. That's probably something I'm definitely willing to bet on, and I am indeed a betting man. So I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. If you do want to support me, then you can sign up through my Bybit referral link. I am doing a PS5 giveaway. So on Christmas Day, so December 25th, I'm going to announce a winner, somebody that is on my Bybit referral link and has deposited $100 to their account. You are eligible to win a PS5. And yeah, that is my Christmas present to you guys. That'll be the third PS5 that I've given away to people on my link. And I've also given away an iPhone 13. So yeah, hopefully more giveaways and stuff to come. Bybit is also running a ton of campaigns and lots of incentives. They're giving away a car. They're giving away 100 iPhone 14 Pros and some other stuff, some cash bonuses, some USDT bonuses for traders, and they have so much going on right now in terms of campaigns and incentives for you to want to be trading on Bybit. And obviously, I've been using that exchange since 2019. So Zach XBT, please leave me alone. I promise I'm not shady. I genuinely have been using this trade for 3 years. I have proof, right? So please stay away from me. And yeah, if you guys got value from this video or from any videos that I've ever made, please, like, comment, subscribe, share this with your grandmother, donate to me so I can afford some avocado toast or even just ramen at this point. And yeah, much love. Appreciate all you guys. Hope you have a great weekend. Take it easy.